Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to 24K Movies, Reviews, Television Show, Video Games. 24K reviews all the best. We are not sponsored. This is just our personal opinion, and we give it to you real. Hopefully we take the bricks out of the bag so that you don't have to go and see a piece of crap, or you don't have to play a piece of crap, or you don't have to deal with a piece of crap. So, without further ado, as you can see, we just watched Gran Turismo. Now, for most of you who don't know, Gran Turismo is a PlayStation game. Most of us back in the day on the original PlayStation consoles, we used to bust this back in the day. There are great memories from the music and the type of racing and the cars and the simulation, but one of my fondest memories is racing for that license. And oh my God, I can't tell you how many times I had to repeat something over and over and over again until I got that license to move on to the next thing. Well, PlayStation Studios 2.0. Apparently, this is the story, the true story about a young man who was one of the best Gran Turismo drivers in the sim. And they held a contest because one of the circuit's biggest brains thought that because it was programmed after a real life track with real life parts in a car with real life turns and real life, like basically everything was simulated from real life, and he wanted to prove that it was so real that drivers in sim were every bit as good as drivers in the real world, which, let's just face it, a lot of people will come under scrutiny for that, which I don't know why, because when you're becoming a pilot, you need so many hours of flight sim time. If you need so many hours of this time sim, you need sim time for this, you need sim time for that. So there's so many things in the world in order to do a job that you need to accrue enough sim time in order to be considered even to start using the equipment. So he held an event, and the fastest qualifiers he invited out to his track. Team Nissan was the group that did it, Nisamo, and they literally tested these kids with real life cars, real life drivers, real life mechanics, and one of the best drivers in the world, who basically told them, this is not going to work. You guys don't have what it takes. There's no way you can perform like a athlete, because a lot of people don't realize the demands of an actual professional driver. It's more than just sitting in a car and driving. The G-forces, the physicality, the split-second timing, the ability to live with decisions that may cost the life of you, the life of someone else, or the life of a spectator because of this machinery that you're controlling at these huge speeds, because metal becomes very pliable at certain speeds. And the movie basically shows you the story of this kid who dreamed of being a real life driver. And actually, the real life driver, the stunt driver in this movie was actually the real kid that the story was based on. And I did not know a lot of this going into this movie, and I started researching and looking into it, and it's an amazing story. Him having to fight with the demons of his father not believing in him. A lot of us know that feeling when people are just like, it's just a game. Like, I don't understand how you can just dedicate so many hours into just a game. Oh, it's just a game. They don't understand the fine mechanics that have evolved what people think is gaming, because the word gaming is minuscule in its title. It's really diminishing the true aspect of what you're doing. I mean, these electronical worlds are created by real military people, real people in the business, real people in the industry. So it's no longer just a game. Like, these people are developing real skills, real skills. And a lot of people were like, well, if you take him out of here and put him in there, there's no way they will really be able to do it. Well, that's what this story is. This story is the true story about a young man who they plucked from the gaming world and put him into this actual real driving world. And not only did he excel at what he did, he broke records, and he actually won Le Mans. He actually won Le Mans, which I don't know if a lot of you guys know, that is almost 23 hours driving straight. And yes, you have partners that pop off here, there, and yonder that help you, but 23 hours in a race where speeds sometimes go as much as almost 400 miles an hour. And you're talking about, you got to have nerves of steel for things like that. And this kid who was not on the level as the other drivers, and the other drivers knew that, he got crap from not only the other professional drivers, but from his pit crew. He got it from pretty much everybody but his one driver who believed in him. And believe it or not, he came within to an inch of being sent home. He was in the car with the master driver, and he was in an accident where he was trying to pass somebody, and he told him to hit the brakes, and something didn't work out, and he ended up smacking a wall of tires. And the professional driver told him, like, you're going home. And he was just like, no, the brakes glazed over. And he was just like, there's no, you don't make mistakes like that. You can't, like, you didn't go for it. So you just, you froze up, you fear. And he was just like, I don't have that fear. I'm telling you, the brakes were glazed over. And the driver, the master driver was just like, how could you possibly know that? So he was telling him, like, I'm at home, like, I put the parts on these cars, the parts are real, the mechanics in the cars are real, I know what happened because it happened to me in the game, so I can tell you exactly what happened to the car in real life. So basically the master driver told him, like, I'm going to go and check it out. If the brakes were glazed, we'll give you another shot. If the brakes weren't glazed, see ya. Since you're so confident in the brakes being glazed over. So a professional driver got behind the wheel of a car and tested the car out and told the master driver, yeah, the brakes were glazed over. So of course he went over to this kid, was like, how could you possibly have known that? Which the kid was trying to explain to him, like, yeah, they're professional drivers and they do this, but mindset wise, I've been doing this just as long as they have, and I know the tracks better than them because I've studied them all the time. So they gave him another shot. And they gave him another shot where all 5 racers who had qualified for the sim program were set to race. And this kid, he let go. He had the ability of understanding that sometimes the lines in Gran Turismo that you race by are program safety lines, and that sometimes the lines are wrong. There is a faster route and an alternative. So this is how he drove. So he started driving the way he did in the game, and ultimately that's what helped him in the races. Now, there's no BS in it, and I'm glad, because people who drive for a very long time, they just have unique abilities that they get that you can't. Sometimes you can't just learn things being on a system. Sometimes you need real life experience. So some of the races he was in, he did really well, and then some of them people attacked him because of who he was, pushing him off the road, bullying him, hitting the back of him, spinning him out, just no respect. Because that fear, the fear they knew he had, they were trying to dominate him in, until he lost that fear. And he gradually went with his qualifying races, because they told him, in order to give you a license, in order to give you an actual license to actually race, to go to the show, you have to come in 4th place. So out of 6 to 8 races, I think he finished in 27th, then he went into 18th, then he went into 12, then he went into 8, and then he went into 7, then he went into I think the very last race that he was in, he ended up placing 4th and actually getting his license. And he moved on to a race in Germany, one of the most dangerous races in the world, tracks wise. And He was on record pace to win. He was actually second place. He was driving like possessed. He was one of the strongest drivers in that race. And in a freak accident, the air got underneath his car, lifted it up, and it flung him into the stance, ultimately unaliving someone. Him waking up and realizing he's responsible for, costing someone their life, mentally, he pretty much gave up. Because his father told him, you're going to end up killing yourself or somebody else. Like, it was like life affirming that what his dream was not going to be. Even though he had lived it, literally by coming in fourth, qualifying and getting that license, he had proved everybody wrong. But to him, there was more. There was more that needed to be done. So in the hospital, when he learned that he unalived somebody, it was really hard for him to deal with, and he was pretty much wanting to quit, which most people would. And the master driver, played by our favorite actor Hopper from Stranger Things, he's a great actor. I love this guy. He basically found him and told him, like, come on, I need you to come with me. And he took him to the scene of the wreck, of where the young man wrecked. And he got out the car and he told him why he stopped racing. He had gotten involved in an accident and somebody had been unalived, and basically he couldn't do it anymore. So he chose to stop. But for every year after that, he hated himself because he never knew what kind of racer he could have been. He never knew how good he would have been. He never won Le Mans. He never got that glory that he was looking for. And he told the kid, you can quit like I did, and nobody would blame you, because anybody would after what you went through. But he also said, like, you're better than me, and I see something in you that I didn't see in myself, and you have the chance to become the best in the world if you don't give up. And he basically became more of a father figure, inspiring him, than his own father in the movie, and I guess in real life, that's a very bad situation. It's a very crappy, shitty situation, and ultimately, I'm glad the young man never quit. I'm glad he never gave up, because Le Mans, which is the balls to the wall race, he put everything he had in there, and he still had elements of fear because of his wipeout. Mostly like you would, like in Top Gun, when Maverick got behind the wheel after he killed Goose again. But he had this thing where he would listen to Songbird by Kenny G and this other song, and it's calmed him before the race, which at the end of the movie they tell you, even after his 200th race, he still listened to that to calm his nerves. But during this race, he had to re-engage, and he had to really think to himself, why am I driving like a race car driver? The whole point of this thing that they put me in, this sim driving training course, this whole thing that they put me in, is because I know how to drive as a sim better than most drivers. So it was a part of a scene where they took the car apart with the digital effects, and it was freaking amazing, because like I have a wheel right here too. So when I was watching it, I had the wheel here. So when they took the digital parts around and he was just in his house, like holding his wheel and driving, I was just like, oh my god, like this is hitting home. This is really hitting home. And as a gamer, we need more stories to be shown like this. We need more demonstrations to follow. People need to understand how big this thing goes. Gaming is the biggest facet of human communities. It's more money in the industry than movies and television, radio, music, TV, cable. It is the biggest. The dollars, the money. There are more gamers per state per country in the world than there are doctors, lawyers, scientists. Wrap your head around that. There is a nation of gamers, a generation of an electronical mind. This is what you're targeting. This is what game makers should be targeting. And it's been a while since I've seen a movie inspired by a game, and I had never heard this story about this child that had actually gone and done this amazing thing. So to me, it was just all inspiring. And when it came down to it in the end, and he let go, like, there were so many little parts. If you've ever played Gran Turismo, you're gonna love this movie just because you play Gran Turismo, because there's so many little points and parts that they put in from the game that you're just like, oh my god, that's awesome. Even the rain part with the water and the physics during certain scenes. But him letting go and taking the chances on the corners, like, it's like, I can't explain it. When you're driving, even with a controller, I stopped driving with a controller because once I started doing the wheel and the clutch and the pedal and the brake system, I've never gone back to a controller. To me, this just feels ergonomically correct, and I'm just, it's like a zone. It's like you get into a rail when you're racing, where you're just, it feels like you're on a rail. You're just in a pocket. It feels like you can't lose. It just feels like everything is just flowing into place. I know you can lose, but when you're in the zone and you're driving like you're possessed and you're whipping and drifting and swerving and everything just comes together, it is an amazing experience. It can't even put it into words. And they articulate this in this movie when this kid is driving. And one of the greatest scenes is when, like I said, they pull the car apart piece by piece, and then it's just him in his room with his monitor, with his wheel, and I'm like, bravo. So he actually goes on to actually win Le Mans, something that his master instructor did not do, and nobody believed he could do it. And here is this sim driver, this kid who is racing on a game system in Gran Turismo, taking on the world by storm in actual races. This is why these sims, I tell you, are so real to life. Is because the programming, the smart programming, everything that they put into these actual sims that make them so realistic, you don't even realize that you're training to be in the real machine until you're actually behind a real machine and everything comes together the way it did in the sim. It's awesome. It really is awesome. It's I hate to say it because I'm not gratifying anybody or anyone with dastardly deeds or evil deeds or intentions towards anybody in the world, but there is some rhetoric that some of the people who did nefarious things during 9/11 flying learned to fly on a Microsoft Flight Simulator. And that's what I'm talking about. So you're talking about people who learned to fly through a sim and flew good enough to achieve their goal. This kid raced on a sim great enough to achieve his goal. That's why I don't consider simulators games. I don't consider them games, and I know people say it all the time, oh, it's a game. I don't consider them games because it's actually a teaching machine. It's a learning machine. And if you've ever gone through Train Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Subway Simulator, any one of the simulators that are very technical to light, where you have to go through pre-flight, check instrumentation, like when you have to go through everything down that entire list, where you have to learn it and go through it, you don't realize while you're at home, it's a different, if you were going on a program, you would respect it differently than you do at home on your home console. Because if you're in a program, you're understanding this is for A, this is for B, this is for C. The first time it really equated to me, I was working with Flight Simulator probably for about oh my God, maybe 300, 400 hours. Small single engine, twin engine planes, nothing huge like a Boeing or anything like that. Just, small single engine, Cessna, things like that. And I had a chance to go to a small airport and look behind one of the planes that I was training to fly. And I looked at it and I could not believe how accurate the sim was. Everything. I could not believe how accurate everything was. And I asked the guy, if you're going through for liftoff on this runway, what would be the process that you go through? And the guy started explaining it. And as he explained it, I was filling in pieces here, there, and yonder. And he was just looking at me. And he was like, you have flight experience? And I was like, no. But I have sim experience. And he was like, how many hours? I was about 400. He was like, oh, so you're pretty much proficient. Did you go and take your test? I was like, no, I did not. And he was like, why not? I was like, because I don't want to be a pilot. I don't want to be flying around and kill somebody and possibly myself. But it's nice to know that I have the tools to be able to pull it off if life demanded it. If it was a zombie apocalypse, and we need to get from point A to point B, and it was like, hey, can anybody fly? I'd be like, hey, I can fly a single engine. I can't save 1,000 people on a 747 or a 757 or a Boeing. I can't do that. But it's nice to know that I could look this and do this little small thing. I mean, I could probably co-pilot and help somebody on a bigger plane because I have gone through those sims and learning how to do those kind of taxiing and learning how to adjust flaps and artificial horizon. I've gone through a lot of bigger planes, but my experience mainly was in single engine or small twin engine planes. But that's besides the point. What I'm trying to say is the sim is not a game to me because I respect it more now because I had no idea that while doing the sim, in your mind it's a game, but in real life it's teaching you an actual skill, something a lot of people don't know. The same thing I did when I caught a train. I used to catch the train to my mom's apartment all the time, and I had messed with train sim, and I had messed with subway simulator and everything else, and I had messed with all these sims on trains. And I just had a chance to go to the very first cart where the conductor sat, and I sat down and I'm watching him operating it, and I'm looking at the totem, I'm looking at the dead man switch, and I'm looking at the pitch and the brake, and I'm looking at everything else, and I'm just like, oh my God, I know this. I can do this. This is awesome. And I'm sitting here watching him back and forth, and I know that must have seemed incredibly insane because I know you're like, what the hell are you looking at? What, you going to take over the train? No, I'm not. I was just amazed that these sims that I'm playing, that I thought that I was playing, are actually training me. Amazing. And Gran Turismo, whether you know it or not, is an actual racing sim. Now, back in the day, it wasn't as advanced as it is now. And anybody who's played a modern Gran Turismo knows, Jesus, how far they've gone. Like, Gran Turismo now, it's driving a car. It is driving a car. I mean, you can't feel the G-forces, but you can get a wheel with like force feedback, reverberation. You can feel everything but the G-forces of being in a real car. But the actual roadways, the cornering, the turning, the parts of the car, how they function, what part does what part needs to be adjusted for this, to change the speed, to change how you corner. Like, it teaches you about cars. It teaches you about the cornering, the how to drive, and it's amazing. This movie captured it in such great detail. I wish there were more movies like this. I really do. This is one of the best ones. I'm giving this in the Game Dojo. 24K Movies is giving this. Where's that buzzer? Where's the phone? We need to bring the buzzer in because the buzzer is not here. But we are giving this. Where's it at? I don't see it. Alright, this is platinum. Thank you. I'll talk to you later. So this is platinum. This is platinum. Pure platinum. 5 ninja stars out of 5 on a Game Ninja scale of awesomeness. Ring of Power approved. This, if you want to see a movie that's inspiring, like Top Gun or Rocky. It's got the emotionality in it. If you want to see a real life underdog to overachievement to glory, this is there. If you want to see somebody achieving their dreams through adversity, bitterness, and pain, it's there. If you're looking for a great story, it's there. If you're looking as a gamer to see something transferred from gaming to real life, it's there. This movie has the right actors. It has the right story. It has the right emotionality and content. This is what I'm looking for when I want to watch a movie. Hands down, this is what I'm looking for. They don't make movies like this anymore, and I'm glad this movie exists. This is Platinum from the Game Dojo. Like it, buy it, watch it, get it on Blu-ray. This movie right here, Gran Turismo, I found no takeaways from it. As much as I want to, and I'm very critical with movies, I found no takeaways with this movie. This movie, to me, from beginning to end, and it was one of the longer movies, and I'm glad, because there was a point where the story felt like it came to fruition and it was full, and they could have ended it there, and it would have still been a great movie even there. But they went the distance. They moved that marker post further, and I'm glad they did, because the last act changes the entire destination of this movie, and it ends beautifully. I don't know if, because of the strike and everything else they went through this year, if they'll have movie awards or anything like that, but here in the Game Dojo, this deserves an Oscar. All the actors deserve Oscars. The script deserves an Oscar. Like, they deserve everybody involved on this project deserves an award. And believe it or not, it made me want to play Gran Turismo again on PlayStation. No matter how frustrating it is, it made me want to play Gran Turismo. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Gran Turismo from PlayStation Studios. This movie is awesome. Awesome sauce, baby. Thank you for joining me for this movie review. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. Stay tuned, because we just entered the month of October. So the 31 days of Halloween are coming at you. We're going to be doing a lot of horror, but we're not going to be doing just horror, because there still is some drama, which I consider dramatic horror movies. One of the first ones I just saw was Feast. I don't know about part 2 or part 3, but I'm going to review part 1. Part 1, I did not know Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and Wes Craven had executive producing credits on it, which was interesting. But I damn sure know they didn't on part 2 and part 3, including the Weinsteins. The Weinstein brothers were attached to all 3 projects, but the first project to me it was out there. It felt Tarantino-esque, but that's a different review. So from the Game Dojo, this was Gran Turismo. Thank you guys for joining me. It was an awesome movie. Fun time. 5 out of 5. Check this movie out when you get a chance. Gran Turismo from PlayStation Studios. From the Game Dojo, I'm out.